Howdy and welcome. Probably not the voice you were expecting to hear right off the bat. Jacob is busy.
Timing.
I'm here.
Jacob has revealed his secret identity.
Yeah,
Ah,
I've been Beard all along.
ah.
Now, Jacob,
Language change.
Jacob is busy enduring an onslaught from the raccoons. He's in chat, but he's probably not going to be here with us in the stream unless something happens miraculously. You never know. Um, So yeah, so I guess I'm got the reins here tonight. And
I had a thought. Jacob could try coming in on his phone through voice.
no,
His
we'll leave it up to
his phone bandwidth might be better than his regular internet.
we'll leave it up to him what he wants to do with that.
But in the meantime,
I'll do my best here, but enough about me because I'm going to be flubbering the entire stream. Let's welcome everybody else who's here. Mando, welcome. Hello.
What's up, everyone? Untamed Mando. Most of you know who I am, and the Iron Side is dealing with the raccoons. I imagine Rocket Raccoon has gone in cahoots with the internet provider company and decided to rain hellfire down upon Jacob's poor house tonight. So good luck, Sir Spartan. And we've got the Four Stooges here instead.
Yeah. See, I can't even say that like mom and dad are out of the house or having a party because he's still here judging what I'm doing. So I still have to be on my best behavior. Anyway, Shieldwall, hello and welcome. I didn't mean to put you down there in the corner. Usually up here in where Mando is.
That's fine. It's a little.
The woman is on top now, boys.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to be here. I missed last week because I was traveling around Oklahoma.
And you were missed.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. This is a good movie. A great Western. From the time when I think Westerns were like in the middle of their height, it was kind of the middle of their at their zenith. There were lots of Westerns being made still at this time, and the quality was really good. Looking forward to get into this.
All right, cool. And of course, Sawed Off Matt Gun. I like that name, sir. How are you? Welcome.
I'm doing very well from the People's Republic of New Jersey and broadcasting from my freedom bunker. So yeah.
All right, cool.
Boosh, you are correct. It is nice when someone has you watching good stuff.
That's a good place that I need to start with saying hi in the chat. Yes, Boosh, you were.
Guys, we're all in a great mood because thanks to Disney's plan, Roman cannot torture us for 2 months next summer.
But it is good to be on a show that even the worst movie I've watched on this channel for Jacob is still better than most of the best movies I've watched for other people's streams.
That's true.
Yeah, there aren't really any bad movies on Jacob's channel. They're all good.
This is correct.
Classics, yeah.
All right, let's see here.
You want some good movies that you've never seen before, because most of you probably have not seen most of the oldies, like Beard. This is the show to do so.
I mean,
that's right.
In Roman's defense, we did watch Them. That was a great movie.
He has some good ones every now and
then.
And this week is Wolfen, correct? So
it is. I still got to figure out how I'm going to watch that, but I'll figure it out.
I mean, if you need to sail the high seas, let me know. I've got a couple of recommendations.
Shieldwall, reach out to me after the show.
Back here.
All right.
Cool. Down to, let's see here. Gord King, how y'all going to do 3:10 to Yuma when it's already 8 p.m. EST? Good point, sir.
Gord King, we travel space and time, and you just never know.
Anime Night dropping in, one of his favorite Western movies. Excellent. And Emma dropping in. She's been a avid supporter and watcher of my own Fallout London stream, so happy to see you here.
Very nice.
I pitched everybody's channel the other day, and she went and subscribed to everybody, so thank you for dropping in. And let's see here, make sure I'm not missing anybody. Yeah, I got Bush, AJ. Yeah,
Keeping
and
an
then of
eye.
course, yeah, got to be on my best behavior. No Romans channel shenanigans.
I can't do my Roman channel shenanigans on this channel anyway. Welcome to my world, okay?
Well, let's just
Nobody appreciates the scissors, okay?
We're supposed to be on our best behavior here.
No one said I can't complain about not being able to be a wild child, okay?
Okay, so this movie came out in 1957. It was based on a novel. I believe it's a short story by Elmore Leonard. If the name is not familiar, Elmore Leonard, you might know him because he's the author behind who Justified was based on, or Get Shorty, or like a ton of other movies that were adopted. He passed away about 11 years ago, but he was a great American writer of westerns, crime thrillers, mysteries, and stuff like that. And this was directed by Delmar Davies. I'm trying to remember anything you might have heard of. He did a Cary Grant submarine film as one of the first two films. What the heck was it called? Destination Tokyo. That's another thing he might have done. You might have heard he did. I'm trying to remember anything else that I could think of. That let me scroll over to his filmography. Yeah, I mean, I know I saw Destination Tokyo in this movie, but I can't remember. Like maybe Dark Passage, Humphrey Bogart film. So he directed that. But I can't remember a lot of other stuff that he wrote that he did. But if you look at his filmography, the director, he worked for a lot of big time actors, so he was a big time director. And then it stars the great Glenn Ford as our main character. Well, one of our two main characters, I guess you would say, Dan Evans as Ben Wade, rather. Van Eflin, Dan Evans, and what's his face? The most interesting character here, Charlie Prince, the number 2 bandit. He's the guy from the Dirty Dozen who played the sergeant, right?
Yeah, he's been in a lot of World War II stuff. I think he was in The Longest Day as well, if I recall.
He's always like the number 2 like supporting guy, like a ton of actors. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Rarely gets a top billing, but so.
Well, some people are really good at that supporting actor role. They make a career out of that, and they wind up having more movies under their belt than a main actor does, like a really popular.
Oh God,
yeah.
Yep. And so that's basically the rundown on the film. Black and white. I think they technically did a colorized version of it at some point. But like when Ted Turner did a whole bunch of colorized movies.
Some of those colorizations are done really well. I didn't come across one of those whenever I was looking for a way to watch it, so I just stuck with the black and white.
Yeah, well, the black and white.
I stuck with black and white.
This film is very well shot, and like right here, you can see sometimes with a black and white film that's shot in the daylight, the shadows seem bigger than they really are, but the director and the filmographer, they catch it like it's like in other words, the shadows don't just wipe out the texture, and when you see it up close, so you can still see like his left eye, the shape of it, or whatever. Because there'd be some light and it's not a pitch black shadow and all that.
But they definitely do have to rely on those shadows a lot more because they can't rely on colors necessarily to give contrast. Yeah. So it gives that kind of like a dramatic look.
Yeah.
Howdy, Cannoli. I'm at the helm of the ship tonight, so if I miss any comments, I apologize. I'm doing double duty.
Now, we're not doing this. Film was remade in 2007. We're not doing like this one versus that one with this. But I will say one way this is clearly superior to the remake. I'm not disparaging the remake. This is an hour and a half, and the remake was 2 hours plus. And it's like we did what was it, Dracula? No, Frankenstein on this show, which was a 1 hour film. And every version of Frankenstein made after that got longer and longer and longer. Right. And I'm not complaining that some of them were really good movies, but it's the art of making shorter films seems to have gotten lost decade by decade in the world.
I agree.
And there's not a lot of fat to trim on this film. It's pretty much everything you need to know. It just goes.
Yeah. And basically go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's always better to leave you wanting more than not giving you enough, as only to get right at that fine point of giving you what you have to have, right? Like you might wonder, for example, how did he get into the situation with his family? They don't go into it too much in in this one. You know, you might want, but it doesn't take away from the story. It just makes you more interested in the setting. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of,
go ahead.
no, go ahead, Mando. You were saying something.
Oh, I was gonna like just let the people know like kind of where we like the scene opens up is basically we just see cows, a hold up, and these three. Like that's the scene that we're opened into.
Yeah, he says to his kids like I hear the cows, they're like in trouble or something. They come right up on that.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on the filming location for this. So it's filmed in certain parts of California, Sedona, Arizona. If you've ever been there, it's a really amazing place. And I can tell from these shots that this is probably where that's at, maybe ish. Also, Texas Canyon and Old Tucson filming location in Tucson, which I could tell from later shots of the towns. But so there were a lot of areas when Westerns were big that they would go to film and get these beautiful shots. But the thing is, if you look at like the cows going through the area, I don't know if there's a whole lot of cattle ranching down there because there's not a lot of rain in that area. I mean, which the movie alludes to, but yeah, if you're trying to grow anything down there except maybe goats or something, yeah, it's going to be a hard life for you. Because
the thing about the reason, if you like, especially historically, a little less now, but because we have modern farming techniques, but that's the reason why when you were a cattle rancher, you didn't just, unless you could afford a gigantic ranch, you grazed on public lands. So even when there was drought, your cattle can spread out on this huge swath of public land and still get access to maybe a river that's not on your property or whatever, you know. And I don't know. I'm trying to remember if they go into it. Is the real now, because I watched them close together. The plots of both movies are merging in my head. I got to split them apart. Yeah, so there's no like railroad subplot in this one.
No, there's not.
No.
Yeah.
Other than they need to get him to the train. That's it.
Yeah. So,
matter of fact, you never see a single person on the train. Like you don't see the conductor. There's nobody like getting out of the train trying to service it. No passengers, nothing.
Right.
So they keep that very, very tight. I was just commenting on the locations that it was shot, and it's the habitual use of these scenes is why modern people equate cowboys to these kind of areas.
Right. Yeah.
Also, you can tell that the scenes that are shot in Arizona is because of the swirl cactuses, because they only exist northern Mexico, southern Arizona, and a small portion of California is where they go. And if you go north to Phoenix, they do not grow above that parallel. So you can pretty assuredly recognize where you're at. If you see swirl cactus, you know where in the world you're at.
All right. Didn't know that. But yeah, these guys that are robbing the stagecoach, they're pretty bold. Just these other dad and two kids ride up and just like, you just stay there, let us take care of our business. Dad goes, okay. Kid's like, you gonna let him talk to you like that? You gonna let him do that? It's like, nothing really I can do.
So there's a lot of them, and there's only a couple of us.
and there's a historic reason for this, by the way. Okay, see, this is wide open territories. You might think, what year does this take place? I don't remember anymore. 1880s.
I got to look that up.
So Arizona wasn't a state yet, right? The important thing.
Not till like 1912.
Yeah. So if you robbing the money, that's just normal police pursuit. If they start killing people, especially on federal land or whatever, the whole bloody cavalry is going to go after them. And these bandits in the setting, the way this movie is set up, don't want to have an army chasing after them. They just want to steal some money and then go hang out with some chicks in Mexico for a while. You know, there's no like, Now, again, I'm not going to go crazy with this comparison, but the version here is the honorable rogue. So the leader here, Wade, is an honorable rogue. And his men are kind of more like his, not honorable as he is, but of his similar moral character, right? So they really don't want to gun everyone down and get an army coming after them in the territories, because that's the way it was, and so that makes sense
Right.
historically,
Right. And go ahead.
I was just going to say the other thing about this is his men are disciplined. They listen to him. They never backtalk at all. And the fact that the father and the kids, how they get wrapped up in this is they use the cattle. The other guys kind of basically wrangle them. What's that called? Where you steal people's cattle?
Cattle rustling.
They rustle the cattle to use them to get the stagecoach to stop. Then they rob the stagecoach. It just so happens that the father and kids are looking for the cattle, and that's how they get involved in this. Mm-hmm. If this would have went to plan, they would have just robbed the stagecoach and bounced. The cattle, they would have found the cattle and took them home. Nobody would have stolen them or anything. And then these guys would have just went on their way and been like, oh, we've been robbed. And so what winds up happening is the driver decides to pull a gun on a guy and hold him. And so then the main guy shoots that guy. So
the main guy shoots his guy and the stagecoach driver. Right.
And which I guess was a little, we're not going to let this guy be held hostage or whatever. But so basically, if nobody would have done anything, they wouldn't have hurt anybody. They weren't stealing their wallets and watches or nothing. They just wanted the gold off of the top, and they knew that where it was too, because they said we went under the tarpaulin. So we don't know the backstory of how he knew all this.
Yeah, as he says later on, if he drew on me first, so you could say it was self-defense. That like Matt said, it's kind of that honorable rogue sort of character. But it's not even just a heist. It's got, if I remember correctly, this is Mr. Butterfield who owns the stage.
Yeah, this is this guy here in the shot right now. He's the stage owner.
Though for legal clarification, you cannot commit a crime then use self-defense as a justification. Just so we're out.
That is true.
Well, let's be very careful.
Yeah, this was more of a moral stance.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But the point is that he wasn't going to be riding in the town and abusing people and kicking dogs or anything like that.
Although he does steal these three guys' horses, I'm assuming they can't chase after him.
Right.
That's what he says.
And then he said he's going to let the horses go over by Bisbee. So he wasn't actually stealing them. He was just preventing them from chasing them. And then he was going to release the horses and you can go find them later. Now, the chances of somebody else getting them or they get lost and die or never come back or whatever could be high, but that way they can't run and get the sheriff.
Marshal.
Now, what they don't, the marshal, and I don't think they show it. I don't remember seeing it, but they also unhitch the horses off of the stage.
I don't think they showed that.
Yeah, and get rid of them.
I don't think so.
If they did, I missed it too. It later in the story. Now, how they rounded up cattle on foot, I'm not really sure.
It's possible.
Maybe you can do it, but.
Well, I think the cattle were already kind of so clumped together because they were herd instinct is to stick together. And so he just used the two younger boys' stamina, I assume, to just basically have them run around like a dog would.
There's one or two leaders of the herd, so you're really herding those two or whatever.
You get the leader to go one direction, then all you're worried about are the stragglers and the young ones that kind of start to wander.
Yeah.
Plus, back in the day, men were men, and we could chase down cattle on foot.
And I guess maybe they didn't have, I don't know if before it, but cowboys would actually have dogs to help with this too.
Yes. Most of the time. If they could afford it. I really like her character. I'm just going to say, she is not some dainty little damsel in distress. No, she's a hard-working woman. I can't speak today.
She's still alive, by the
way. She's definitely a frontier mom and a frontier wife. So,
is this actress still alive?
I just looked it up. She's in her 90s. She's still alive.
Yeah, I would have figured she'd been in her
90s.
Yeah.
She only did. I just looked. She only did like 10 or 11, like 15 movies. 18. I guess she's more famous for being a model. Kiss Me Stupid. I remember seeing that with Dean Martin. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this interaction. The boys are like, "Oh my gosh, someone got robbed and they got shot," and she's just like, "What? What?" Like, there are so many Western movies, and it's not just Westerns, but there are so many older movies where if the boys were telling the woman this, she would basically go, but no, she's just like, "What the heck?"
Yeah, she's more. I get the feeling she's more concerned about the fact they just lost 3 horses because they came walking back on foot.
Right. She's just like, where are your horses?
That's money gone.
Right.
Right.
That wouldn't be. Those horses aren't cheap, you know. And they have a buggy or like a wagon buggy with more horses, and they've got extra saddles and stuff. So they're not bad off as far as equipment goes, but it's been a drought for 3 years. So it's really affecting their income. Also,
with a drought means normally they'd be raising other things like cattle. They'd have crops and whatever to feed themselves. With a drought, they can't grow enough for their own food to feed themselves.
Right.
Or maybe to trade, like if they grow a lot of, say, I don't know, celery, I'm just making this up, they could trade that to someone who grows a lot of lettuce or whatever. So that inhibits their lifestyle. They're dependent upon these cattle to pay for everything now. You know?
Now, in this scene, something is happening here where she's like, well, didn't you try to stop him? And he's like, well, what was I going to do? There's 12 of them, right? They all had guns. If you notice, he didn't have no gun either when he rode up there. And she just keeps asking him, well, making it sound like you need to step up and be a man and take care of this stuff. And you know what I mean? Like and he keeps giving these answers, and it almost feels like with him and the kids, he's like losing face in front of him, and it's her pushing it, not him. You know what I mean? She's the one that's saying, well, you know, what are we going to do about it? Yeah.
Well,
what do you want to do? Get a shot? Yeah.
Well, I also think like, and this is just me like thinking like maybe their backstory on like I think that her sons and her are used to him doing kind of the more heroic things. Like, I think that's probably more of where they're coming from, because they seemed really shocked that he didn't step in. So it seems like they usually expect him to do the honorable thing and help when somebody's in need.
I thought he was going to have some kind of like, he used to be a gunslinger background or something, and then now he's looking for a peaceful life, but it's not that at all.
So this is very loosely based on the short story. So it's right. Just the prisoner transport thing is the main thing. When I watched this and then the remake, and they added in his background of the military and whatever, I wonder if in the original script for this, he does have a more expansive background that they just didn't put in the film.
Right, because like later on, they make a point of saying you're the best shot in the entire town. Like, he's got a reputation already of being a good shot. I almost
took it as it's the 1950s. Men are good at everything in shows, not like now where they're all bumbling buffoons that can't even put on their own socks.
I kind of took it as that he was once a great man, but he's been beaten down through the drought. He's like doubting himself, and I can only speak for myself, but I think most men, we are our own worst enemies whenever we feel like we're not being like living up to what we think we can do. And everybody else around us sees it long before we do. And I kind of see that where he is right now, where he's just like scraping by. And that's why we see him get tempted later on in the film, because while we can tell he's kind of a good guy at heart because of his family, that he's been beaten to a point in his life where he's questioning sticking to his morals. Like, he just doesn't care anymore. Jacob said Glenn Ford was originally offered the role of Dan Evans, refused to suggest himself for the role of Ben Wade. Okay.
Well, Wade's certainly the more interesting character, I'll say that much.
And you know that works because he's also more charismatic. I mean, a charismatic bad guy always makes for a more likable bad guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, got to switch back over. Sorry, folks. I'm having to like go back and forth, and I'm still adjusting.
Right. And so basically the interaction right here is, well, you need to go back and get the horses, and like we need to do something. You should like, we need about $200. Why don't you ask to loan it? And he's like, well, I don't want to I don't want to beg for money. And she's like, well, it's not technically begging, it's borrowing. So that's where we get we just need like $200. And so he's going to go into town to try and see if he can borrow $200.
Yeah, too said the $200 reward for volunteering, which also pay for the cattle water usage, equates to about $5,600 today. That's no small
That's
amount.
not something to sneeze at.
Whenever
Actually, straight it's even worth even more because straight inflation, like how do I put it, the money may inflate to a certain value, but the cost of goods was so much less. Like things were so because you had to. I hate saying it this way because the environment didn't matter. You could put whatever pesticide you wanted in the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're just so much cheaper to get. You know what I mean? Oh, we need some copper. Let's just go blow that mountain up. It's like, So it goes a long way. It's like when you translate money to a third world country, you don't think it goes a long way, but then when they have no rules like we have down there, it's like, yeah.
Right. All I could think about whenever he was saying the $200 was that scene from the Million Ways to Die in the West, where he's like, "That's a dollar bill, boy. Take off your hat," because no one had ever seen a dollar before.
Oh, what do you do after you get up? Hold up a stagecoach. You hit the bar.
Yeah, I like how they didn't even ask. She just knows. She just lines them up.
Yup.
And
none of the guys
credit to
on
this
her
actress.
either.
She didn't really spill any either.
Yeah.
It was some clean pours.
But when I'm talking about the discipline, none of these guys are. I mean, they're all looking at her, but they're not trying to grab her hand and be like, "Hey, baby," or any of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? They're like,
yeah.
They're not hooping and hollering. They're not shooting the guns in the ceiling. They're not like, roughing the townsfolk up or anything. They're just coming in, getting a drink, and they're going to leave. So he's got his gang really well put together, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, you can also tell by the look on her face that this entire time, she knows who they are, even before we learn anything else. So, like, she knows what they are.
Well, yeah, because as we find out later, she used to sing in a dance hall in somewhere.
Yeah.
Really? I pet you, and you're gonna do that?
The cat's back. I'm distracted enough, Mando. Come on.
I'm sorry. He just wants cuddles. But yeah, I enjoy it's definitely one of those movies that make you question, like, is the bad guy really that bad? Because like here, he's being very respectful. He's tipping the waitress. He's paying for the booze. Like everyone's being polite.
Yeah. I mean, although I'm going to back up, I will say, however, his second in command there, he looks like he's eyeballing her a little bit more than most of the other guys are.
Okay, so historically speaking, right? When you think of the famous robbers of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
People like Jesse James were notorious because they actually killed the people they robbed.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to like this era when robbers started just killing people to get away with it, right? And that's when the FBI started cracking down and just Tommy gunning down all the criminals from like 1920 on. It's I'm not saying this is clean as we think, but like my read of history is most of these sort of guys just wanted to rob money and, like I said, go to Mexico and find some women. Like they weren't interested in being mass murdered, being chased by the army, or any of that stuff.
So this film, along with the equally allegorical High Noon from 1952, was a deciding factor in Howard Hawks deciding to make Rio Bravo in 1959, a return to more optimistic, less revisionist westerns.
Which is hilarious because by the modern definition of what a western is, these are all optimistic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a highly
So did I
highly
miss something
moralized
here
story.
in this storyline where all these guys come in? They're like, "Hey, yeah, we robbed this place or this stagecoach. A guy died. Or we had to shoot a dude." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, the marshal's office is just connected
Well,
to the
no,
saloon. Let me go."
what they did was they didn't say that they did it. They said we found out this happened.
Okay,
We
I
saw
missed
it,
that. I missed that.
and then we came in, and he's like, "Hey, can you tell the marshal that this happened, right? And that it got robbed." And she was like, "Well, it's his nap time from 1 to 2." And they were like, "Well, what are you doing awake?" She's like, "Everybody in this town takes a nap." And he's like, "Oh, mine's from 2 to 3." And then they tell her that somebody died, and she's like, "Oh, now I got to wake him up right away." So she goes in and wakes him up.
Okay,
But
I
Right. So
missed
like
some
a
of that.
robbery
their
don't bat an
story
eye.
is as that they're work for a cattle company, and they're going down to Mexico to get 60,000 head of cattle and bring them
Okay.
back up. So so nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows who any of them are by their looks. There's no wanted posters or anything apparently. So she serves them, and then he's got money and stuff. And back then, if you were a cattle drover and you got paid at the end of your 3-month period, you had a lot of money like on hand. They'd
Yeah.
mostly blow it within a couple of days, but it would be upwards of thousands of dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was 3 months of pay, and also because of the hardship of that, they paid good.
Mm-hmm. That you
because-
got a hardship bonus.
right? Those kinds of things. So then their plan is that they're all going to scatter. They're not going to ride together. They're each going to ride separately down to Mexico. And the only thing that kind of screws up their plan is that he stays to talk to that chick at the bar. So if he would have bounced out of there, everything would have been fine. Yeah,
I mean, can you blame him?
I guess not. But the rest of the guys take off, and now his number one henchman, if you notice the way he's dressed, is a certain way, so you can always tell who he is, even from a distance. He's got like
Mhm.
the shiny leather
Yeah.
vest jacket, and he's got like silver on his gun belt and stuff.
Well,
And
his
hat's a
tone
little
overall,
different. Yeah.
most of the other guys, they have a light, dark, contrasting tone. That guy is like all dark.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
So-
even his skin, he's very tanned compared to a lot of the other ones. So it definitely stands out.
So she comes out to talk to him, and he's talking to her, and he's like, "You look familiar. Did you ever work in El Paso? Did you ever work here? Did you ever work here? How about here?" And she's like, "Oh, I sang at this place in like Kansas City." He's like, "Did you know a heavier set woman in blue velvet?" And he's like, "I spent all my money on her, but I really liked her. But then she wound up marrying the governor or something." And so yeah, but basically they're having a moment here.
Well, and we kind of get a little bit of an echo of this on how he can sweet talk people and like not even just women. Like he's very charismatic and can kind of like manipulate people because he makes comments about the color of her eyes, and then the eye color of somebody else later on comes into play. Try to just at the very least disarm them, if not like openly flirt with them. You disarm them with the charm.
Right. So he's getting ready to leave, right? He actually unhooks the thing, and then she gives him this look and walks inside. So he's like, "Oh." So he hooks the horse back up and goes inside. And then yeah, as you'll see here, they go
It's like,
inside.
oh no, I've got 5 more minutes. I can stick around.
So when the marshal came out, he was like, "Get everybody in town. We got to make a posse." And this guy, Alex, he's the town drunk. He has rheumatism, which is kind of like Uncle's terminal lumbago from Red Dead Redemption, where he, basically he's a drunk, and but his wife says he has rheumatism. But he's like, "No, I'm going to go." And this character is kind of a drunken buffoon, but he winds up being one of the more steadfast characters in the movie. So sometimes it happens.
And I think that's Henry Jones. Trying to remember. Been a lot of stuff. He's one of the actors who's been in a lot of stuff. I'm trying to remember.
Right.
Normally,
But like I was
I
saying,
look it up, but I can't right now.
Sometimes
well,
it happens.
I'm gonna go look it up because I've seen his face in some Support Your Local Sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. Arachnophobia, a whole bunch of TV shows.
So this guy
yeah.
told him, he's like, what did they look like? And he was like, there were 3 men on big white horses. And then Alex is like, oh, 3 white men on big horses, 3 big horses, and rides off. So he comes in here. But what I was going to say before is sometimes, you know, in real life too, the person you least expect to have that moral compass or be the hero, I guess, or be heroic or do something extraordinary is the one that does it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, now that everybody's gone, we got a couple minutes.
Yep.
Let me flirt with you about your eyes. As he says something about like green eyes, and then she looks at him and goes, "Oh, they can't always be green."
No, he's like, I like this kind of girl as long as she's got blue eyes. She's like, my eyes are brown, and he's like, well, they can't always be blue, or something like that. Yeah. So
apparently that works.
Yep. And then they show him later in a later scene just coming out of the back, so you know that they, air quotes, did it.
They got it on.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the detail that they had where he not only took a horse for himself, but he went back. He took a second horse to get this guy out too, so he wasn't stranded out there in the heat and in the desert and such.
Right. And he also took water to him. Yeah.
They meet up with the posse searching for these mysterious guys that, you know, didn't technically exist.
Right. And then they come to realize, oh, that big posse that told us about this are the ones that did it. We let them go.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. Jacob says this caused Yuma to enter lexicon of Cuban slang. Yumas is a term for American visitors, while La Yuma is the United States. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. Yumas is slang for American visitors to Cuba from American West. Okay, that is... I definitely would not have guessed that. Yeah, you can see our main guy over here. He doesn't really care. He's just like, I want to get my horses back. Everybody else is worried about this. I'm rolling a cigarette.
Yeah, he has no plan on being involved in this at all.
Right. Yeah, he's just like, I need to get $200. I let this guy borrow my horse.
Yep. Oh, you're right. Yeah, they definitely just walk out of the back. I totally missed that earlier when I was watching it. And his jacket's unbuttoned now.
Yup.
It's like, well.
Now they're in love.
The lighting really is good. Like you were saying earlier, Matt, about they had to rely on a lot of that.
Yeah, the director did a good job with the camera angles.
You gotta figure that this kind of movie and movie shot like this, and all the stuff they're wearing, how they look at each other, the lighting, the backgrounds, all that, this sets the idea of what a Western is when people think of the West from back then. And you know, this really like ingrains that into people's minds, so that when you look at other Westerns made later on, they copy this, especially modern ones. They try to use the same styles and how things look. Video games are the same way, with like the styles and stuff. So this really, you know, what if you really want to make like the bar scene and things like that, that whiskey 10 cents.
By the way,
I was like, man, I want to go back to them days.
The costume designers did a really good job. If you look at all the cowboy hats, each one of these guys has like custom bends and angles and whatever. So it's like their own how normal person wear their own hat, their own personality, or whatever. It's not just a generic. We need 55 cowboy hats for the next 2 days, and just plop them on there.
Yeah, it
They
doesn't
actually-
feel like it came out of a costume department. It feels original.
Yep.
But this is the I figure you owe me $2 for this and $2 for that and two. It's like,
He's distracting him.
yeah. Which at the same time, he's this. I'm having to juggle a lot of screens here. Wade is not disputing paying him. Like again, with that kind of like honest kind of scoundrel sort of character. He's like, all right, you made a good argument. Here's your $2. All right, you made another good argument. Here's another $2. It helps that he just robbed a bunch of gold off a stagecoach, but still.
He probably has like $500,000 worth of gold and money stashed all over the place.
Right.
It,
They didn't say what did they say with that? Usually when you robbed a stagecoach, it was like the payroll for something.
I don't recall.
Like a mining company payroll or an army payroll.
I know in the remake they mentioned I think it's a payroll or the Butterball or whatever is bringing the payroll out.
Right.
I think
Because that
in
was
this,
usually
it's just
when
left
large
kind of
sums of money were
ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's true even for today. If you see like a armored car heist movie, it's always like the payroll for something,
I mean, and this guy's carrying around what, like $8
Those
to
are silver
$10 that
dollars,
he
I
can
think,
just
yeah.
give away, which means he probably has $30 or $40 on him, and that's a lot for them.
And by the way, if people wonder historically, the 1880s were a lot of economic unrest. I mean, they're just a little bit past the Civil War. The South is still absorbing a lot of money in rebuilding and recovery. On the West Coast, you have all the immigrants, the issues with like debates of immigration with the Chinese Exclusion Acts and the Irish mob trying to kill people to keep them out of jobs and stuff like that. There's a lot of like economic unrest going on, and that's why people are fleeing the coast and the states to settle these territories for a chance to live away from the growing industrialization and the growing discomfort with these cities. Which, interestingly enough, Amanda, Darrow Tolkien, as a child, was born around this time, and he experienced the same thing with not liking cities, wanting to live in the country, and all that sort of stuff. So it's interesting from around the world, phenomenon around the world, that people are getting frustrated with the way cities are becoming industrialized and condensing, and people being forced to live together in these large messes that we're all used to now.
Yeah.
Yep. People didn't like the Industrial Revolution.
I like this. He's right behind me, isn't he? Kind of moment right here. It's like, oh, yeah. Surprise.
Buddy. Bro. Ah. I'm sorry.
See, couldn't just make it easy and peaceful on my first run on this channel, having to control everything.
The cat has never been this clean before.
The cat is in cahoots with the raccoons.
Yeah, but they it's true. They get him, but they didn't count on his buddy noticing and headed off to warn everybody else.
And that's the look of this ain't gonna hold me,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
As you find out at the end of the
that
film,
right there. Yeah. 3 men on big horses, the three amigos. Yes. That's a great movie. But yeah, I mean, even from the beginning, he's just not phased. I mean, we come to find out they have this plan all set up later on, but yeah,
they're trying to convince our protagonist to tag along and help, and he's like, "I just need $200."
So he's like, "I did my part. I'm done. I'm just let me be done here."
Right? I did the Good Samaritan thing. I helped as much as I legally am obligated to.
Now, and look at the Glenn Ford. He's acting in the background, portraying the character, observing them, like watching what's going on and all that.
Yeah.
I will say they established a sort of reasons, the reasons that Evans did what he did better in the remake than in this. You know what I mean? Like, he's a straightforward sort of like wants to take care of his family, not generally opposed to violence, mysterious background. Like I'm not saying he's a cookie cutter stereotype, but like I mean, not that they wanted the extra half an hour plus, but they did kind of establish he's at it, almost like Mel Gibson's character in The Patriot in the remake, with that troubled military background, wanting to keep his kids out of violence.
I mean, there's enough in this one to kind of, I think most people could kind of infer that he wants to focus in on taking care of his family, and he might be willing to bend his morals in order to do it, because like I said earlier, like he just kind of feels beaten down.
I don't disagree. What I'm saying is something different. I'm saying they're not establishing him as, how do I put it, as desperately moral, like he's not as desperate in this. He's desperate, but not like he's not. It's hard. I can't find the right word for it. I think you know what I mean, but I can't find the right word for it. You know, like, but again, this is a more optimistic movie, so that's probably why I don't want to get in the whole comparison. I just want to mention it. It's interesting. You know, go back. That is 100% acting. Now when you have a still shot here, right? But this is only in passing when they play it. You know what I mean? This scene. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to.
He's holding it because I'm going frame by frame right now, and he is not moving.
No, but what I mean is, like, they're not frame by framing in the theater. You're seeing a moving camera, a moving picture, and he's in the background, constantly having that sort of scheming, observing, confident. Like, he's not just lazy in the background. Like, oh, the camera's. I'm not the main character. Let me polish my nails. You know.
Yeah, this is where he's noticing that this other guy is in need of money, and he's making a note. He's like, he's going to use that later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, being menacing without like really doing anything, like commanding all the attention with doing almost nothing.
Really? You're going to chew on my headphones? Really? No, leave it alone. Back. You've lost your privileges.
Don't make me kick you out too, but along with the cat.
I did look this up. This was nominated in '58. It was nominated for the BAFTA for Best Film, and Van Heflin, the guy who played Evans, got the Best Actor for it.
All right. Yeah. So they're formulating their plan on how to get this guy out of here because there's only so many places they can take him, and they know that there are only so many that it's known they can only take him so many places. And then I just love how the guy just said, I need two volunteers. For what? I ain't telling you. I just need 2 volunteers.
As it turns out, once you see the full plot and plan and what they're going to do, me personally, I would have taken them to Fort Huachuca. For the simple fact that once you got there, 12 guys wasn't going to do diddly squat. Because it's an army garrison. So once you take them there, that's it. 12 gang members ain't going to do jack crap. They're not going to roll into a town and be like, we're taking this place over, or we got to get people that need to volunteer to defend the place, because all the person in charge of the army would have to do is be like, go defend the place. And they're like, okay. You know what I mean? It isn't like you got to coerce anybody to do it, other than get the army guy to accept, you know, hey, we're going to put this prisoner here or whatever. Yeah. That'd be it.
Just to Jacob's point there, I agree with you, Jacob, but I don't think the character is supposed to be nasty here, unless he absolutely has to. He's confident no matter what they do, he's going to get away, because ultimately, if they take on a Fort Huachuca or whatever, he's still going to wind up in the same prison he could escape from very easily. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's not bothered by this. He just knows, just want to get there alive, and then I'll be on my merry way whenever. You know?
Yeah, because later on he's like, "Yeah, I've already escaped out of this jail once."
Yeah, our poor protagonist here just walks up and here's an offer of money. He's like, I need money. I'll do it for money. Here, have a shotgun.
I got you.
Right. And you got the other guy, like you were saying earlier, the town drunk. He's like, I volunteered too. It's like, I think it might not be good for you to go. Anybody else? Bueller?
Nobody else volunteers.
I'm serious. If you played Red Dead Redemption, this would be like Uncle saying he was going to go help you.
And that's Potter in that scene right before there, and I've seen his face. I can. It's probably dozens and dozens of things I have seen his face in. the guy who plays Potter. His name's Henry Jones. Man, he's actually the most recognizable person in this movie to me.
Dude, muzzle discipline. You're flagging your buddy there. Point that thing to the ground.
I had the same critique for that one section. I was just like, he's about to blow his friend's head off.
It's old movies. Nobody knew or cared.
Well, the question, is it really his buddy? He's like, I don't care if I kill that
yeah.
guy. I'm getting $200. I don't care what happens to everyone else.
I guess it didn't put two together. I guess that's the same stagecoach that they had because they retrieved the bodies there.
Yeah. And it's the Butterfield stage.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, wow, they had to ride with that guy in there, the women, with this dead guy on the floor.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Put him on the top, maybe, or put him on the back, a little rumple seat thing in the back. Because, you know what I mean? It always has like that sloping canvas thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where you put your luggage. Yep.
Oh. I may be a little bit late to this comment. Yeah, Matt, he's not nasty unless he has to be like shooting one of his own guys. Yeah.
I kind of see that critic's point, though. Like, if you didn't know any, like, if you just watch small clips of this, you wouldn't be, that guy doesn't look villainous at all, you know? But that doesn't mean that.
I mean, it works out for his art, too.
Right.
Kind of how we see him change towards the end of the film, which I guess is not really a change. He's always been that confident and that sort of, like Matt said, honorable rogue sort of character. So he's just playing to type. It's basically if Han Solo was slightly more bad than good in a Western.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Han Solo must have robbed a lot of stuff from you know. Like,
I mean, because I was thinking this right here. She's like, I can just hear her say, "I love you." And he says, "I know," and then gets in the stagecoach and leaves.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I can't. It's not coming to my brain, but there's another character that's like that that I've seen in a show where he's a villain, but then he winds up like liking the guy that he's with enough to where he like allows himself to be turned in or whatever.
White Collar.
Yeah, but this was like a movie or something. But White Collar, that's a good show.
Yeah,
it really is.
All I'm saying is that this, I don't want to call it a trope, but that kind of thing, story plot line has happened before.
Oh, there's probably a bunch of stuff. We were brainstorming. We probably had a bunch of stuff like that. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, it's.
Oh yeah.
Although technically, Johnny Depp stole the movie. Like they rewrote it because of how popular the character was. But you know, or Pitch Black.
Yeah. So we get back to they're transporting him, and we see some of the posse here, keeping an eye on things. And right as soon as they get here.
Okay, go back one scene. There is no circumstances when that dude in that heat is going to hold the gun that way.
Yeah.
He's going to be holding by some part that's made of wood.
It would be a bit warm. That's true. But yeah, they just, oh no. Oh, we got stuck in a rut. Oh, what bad luck. Hey, send some people out to help us. Let's send this guy who is running like he's got his hands in handcuffs. I mean, it's not a bad plan, honestly. It does count a lot on the guys keeping an eye on them, watching them from a certain angle, and definitely being there at this moment. But I'll forgive it. But yeah, they do a quick switcheroo. I think I might, right here. So they bring Wade out and send him back into the house and put a double end to try to throw off the posse.
And there is no circumstance I would have volunteered for that mission. You couldn't have paid me. You couldn't have paid me enough for that. We'll give you $10,000. Nope. Nope.
Here's the real question. Did he actually let her know ahead of time that he was about to harbor a criminal? Or is this when she found out?
No, that's when she found out.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, that is definitely the face of, wait, what's happening here?
Oh, she had no idea what was happening.
Yeah.
And I don't even think her husband did till like right before this.
Yeah. They told him, they're like, yeah, we're going to just do the switch off at your place. And he's like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
And your only backup is the town drunk. Also, make sure your children are there to help serve dinner to this guy that killed a man recently.
That they witnessed kill a man. They were there.
Yes.
Not to be pedantic, but they would have an outdoor cook area to cook in the summer in the heat, so they don't have to heat the stove.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even now in Southeast Texas, nobody likes turning on the stove during the summer.
Nope. That's why
air fryers, man.
And that's why barbecue is so popular in that region.
Yeah.
Is because of that. You can cook at, plus, you stow some freshly killed steak right on there.
Well, it makes it worse. That stove is designed to heat.
That's exactly, the whole thing's metal. Yep. Yeah. It's designed for Canadian winter cabins and stuff.
Yeah.
I like this back and forth. He's like, hey, where's your dad keep? Basically, he's like, where's your dad keeping the booze? I don't know. Okay, I got you. But really, where does he keep the booze?
He said, my dad said you would ask that.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. It's like, I don't know. My dad said
my dad told me you're gonna be a drunk.
He's like, oh, well, dang.
Okay, these two kids are uncredited.
Really?
Yeah. Well, remember we talked about this a few movies ago on one of the channels. Back then, because of the way the unions worked, if you almost no one got credited, and then you would just see like a list of 10 names of the stars. Now there's like 300 pages because if you were in the scene like dusting a bookshelf in the background, of course you're in the second background workers actors union, and you get 17 cents for that role. Your name's got to be in the credits, So, but one of these kids I'm looking up, he was in Abbott and Costello Go to Mars. I think he had his own TV show on CBS, according to, if I'm reading this right. In the Lone Ranger, So that's one kid. The other kid, there's no link for him. So.
I mean, I know they're not in here very much, but as far as kid actors go, they're not distractingly terrible.
Yeah. There's no link for the other kid. I'm just gonna do a search on my own, see if he was in anything interesting, or if he just is his own film.
Yeah, like Jacob said just a moment ago, his backup he shoots because he thought he saw something, which of course sets them all off, including the line, what if they heard that, which comes back into play later on, which I think was a nice touch. And this is when he starts turning on the charm again and starts talking about eyes. And I don't think she's buying it, but she's being a good host and listening. But he's not really doing I don't think he's doing the whole flirting thing here. He's just doing the charming, disarming thing.
The older kid, bunch of uncredited roles, but he was in let's see, Man of a Thousand Faces, which came out this year with Lon Chaney Jr. Nothing big, but he these two kids ain't going to become big time actors. One kid, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Dad walks in, like, what's going on? Mama just flirting with this guy. No, that's not what they say. I'm kidding. But yeah, he sends what's his face in there. I don't have my list of actor names or character names handed like I normally do. And calls her outside. It's like, why were you listening to that? Why were you letting him talk to her or talk to you like that?
Yep, he was jealous that she was getting some attention.
Which I think fits into my theory that he is beating himself up over not being the man that he thinks he used to be or could be. Like he thinks he thinks everybody else is doubting him as much as he is. And like I said, us guys, we're our own worst enemy when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, he as an actor, he is conveying more information than the story as written is actually giving us about him.
That's true. The story doesn't really do too much, but he fills in the gaps.
It's funny because of where this is filmed and the way that building looks. I keep waiting for graboids to come up out of the bottom of it.
What's his face? Bert to come driving over in a pickup truck.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
all right, thanks for dinner. And it's totally nighttime and definitely not shot in during the day, which you could get away with that a lot easier on black and white than later on with color film when you were trying to do day for night shots because you had to color grade it then. I mean, honestly, on a really really clear night with a really bright moon, this image we're looking at is totally doable on even a relatively basic camera. But yeah, that's totally shot during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, didn't he say something about like if try to remember the wording he said, like when he left, he said something like if I make it or if I come back, and it's got his family all worried. And it's a very easy thing to miss because obviously I missed the exact details of it. But that's the impetus for her chasing after him later as she's worried about him because of a little thing he said to his sons. So I was going to say the 310 to Yuma. I'm assuming and Copa's here too. Howdy, Copa. I am at the controls of this out of control train tonight. Oh, doesn't matter which one, both or version, both are great. I've only seen this one.
I did enjoy the updated one. I thought it was decent. It wasn't terrible.
I mean, Matt had some good things to say about it too, so I'm assuming it's
the only thing I hated about the new one was the extra 25 minutes they could have just cut out of it.
I guess that goes back to what you were saying earlier about they just lost the art of being able to make short, effective, like
it's like every decade that passes, they just films got 5 to 10 minutes longer and longer.
And boy, what a place to be. Contention City. Nobody there is happy. You just know it. It's Contention City. Nice little touch when they come riding up. He tells them, walk your horses. No need to wake up the whole town, which we don't see much of a whole town right here, but obviously they're trying to draw as little attention as possible. Nice touch. Very easily overlooked. And I think a lot of other movies in Westerns, when everybody just kind of come running in all big and loud.
There's some shots when they're coming into town here where you can see like the sky with the clouds, and that's also a really beat up town.
Yeah, some of these shots definitely look like this is a legitimate abandoned ghost town.
These shots were from old Tucson.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's just a good shot.
You can tell because of the swirl cactuses.
Oh,
this is where it's at. Yeah.
Remember, they filmed this in the 1950s. They could probably have gone out and found old abandoned ghost towns.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like this right here, they could take something that was beat up, just put facade on the front of everything on one street, and they've got a perfect set for a Western. I don't know if that's what they did here. If this is the whole area backlot.
So it's west of the city of Tucson, and the whole area was specifically built for movies. So all the buildings some are real, but most of them are facades or whatever. And because they were looking for a place to do Westerns that they could afford. Now these shots, I'm willing to bet are in California in a studio somewhere or something.
That statue shows more leg than a woman will be allowed to in these movies.
Correct.
Yeah, I wasn't going to draw attention to it, but man, if you see those knees,
that was a very racy.
Nice knees.
Yeah, that's a very racy. It's probably
he
French
sees it
something.
too. Look at that right there.
Yeah.
Right. He's just like the statue.
I know this is more like a house of ill repute than a
Captain Kirk thing. He wants to screw everything that moves. Sorry.
Yeah, but she's not green.
Yeah.
But I just skip that. Yeah, they notice the guy sleeping on the couch and make a comment about like the drunk, and then they just go up to their room.
Right, but like
like y'all said
you
earlier
know.
about how he was dressed, it's noticeable enough that
I knew it was the
it
dude
draws
right
your
away
attention.
by
Yeah,
his vest and his gun belt and his little hat.
Same. Those
See,
fake snores.
oh my name to the ladies.
They explain pretty well though why he's there, like what
Yeah.
happened.
I mean, there's not a lot of I guess one critique that somebody could say against this movie is it just kind of goes and it doesn't really feel like it has a whole bunch of like ups and downs and things. It's mostly just like a standard, the story is progressing, but it also, in doing so, doesn't have a lot of unnecessary information. There's no unnecessary scenes, there's no unnecessary characters. Everything you see serves the story in some way. And look I have to remember not to talk with my hands because I also have to skip through this film.
keep watching Glenn Ford's character. He's always portraying. He's on the lookout. He's scouting for openings. He's always even when he's So
he look at that. Look, he knows who's on the couch right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. He's like, oh, these guys don't know.
Yup. He's like, I'm getting out of here. I know I'm getting out of here.
I mean, their plan makes sense, but unfortunately, he's got more of a plan already in place. They have no idea about.
Now, for those of you who are, youths, see that door back there? I'm old enough to have grown up with doors like that in my house. Same type of doorknob, same type of paneling. So, don't know if you're young, you
houses like that.
Well, I'm not.
The house I was house sitting last week was a very old Victorian house that has knobs like that.
Oh, that's true, but I'm saying they were still installing them indoors when I was a kid. I grew up in construction in my family, and I'd see these doors. I'd say, Uncle, whatever, because I was from Uncle in construction. Like, I saw a door like this in the movies.
To answer Copa here, Jacob's having some internet issues. He is battling the raccoons and left this locomotive in my hands, so that's why I'm here tonight. But thankfully, I've got a great crew to help me out, so it's going pretty smoothly so far, I think. I say as I forget to click back over.
Jacob's in a life or death battle. Raccoonnet has sent an R800 back in time to stop Jacob.
Yes.
So you can't say those kind of things because it makes me want to go over to the AI art thing that I usually do whenever somebody says like that. And I can't right now because I've got duties to perform.
Duties. Yes, I'm a child.
Duties. I mean, all of this right here is nice because it's a good back and forth. It's not overly adversarial.
Yes, the mind games that he plays.
Yeah, it's like actually it's more like, I mean, you can definitely tell he is the more confident between the two. Just the looks on the faces. And I think the casting, like Jacob said, where he suggested he'd be this role as opposed to this role works because he definitely has more of a naturally confident looking face.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, also, this guy hasn't slept in a while. He's like worried about everything. He's all tired. He's had to chase his cattle around on foot. He hasn't been resting up or nothing. The other guy, he's all relaxed. I mean, he just had a bunch of drinks and some fun time with a lady. So, he's all good to go.
Yeah, I mean, we know intellectually more than one day has to have passed, but the way it looks, only like it's maybe one day because it was one night that we saw, but it's been like probably several days or more,
Yeah, I think Jacob said something earlier about the distance covered is quite a bit
320 miles.
You know how long it would take you, even riding as hard as you could on multiple horses, to cover that distance? That's at least a day minimum.
Yeah.
Like a day and a night. But if you're on one horse, you have to rest the horse and all that kind of stuff. 320 miles, it's it'll take a minute to get through all of that.
If you want a car 60 miles an hour, it's 5+ hours.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, the way that he says about how the gang works is like, like why that guy's sleeping on the couch down there is they send when someone gets snatched, they know all the places they'll take them to, and they send a gang member there to wait and then alert the others. But if you have to ride around all these other locations and gather everyone up and come back, you're talking like a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To do that. So.
Oh, Jacob's wanting me to share something. So again, I will share it real fast. I think this is what he wants me to share. I think.
Uh-oh.
If it's not, I'm sorry, Jacob. This is Jacob right now. Fighting the raccoons?
The Cthulhu coon.
Racktulu.
Yeah,
Racktulu.
Racktulu. Yeah, I like that, Racktulu. That's great, man. And definitely thank you for sending it to somebody other than me, because if you did send it to me, I'm not going to see it. All right, let me switch back to...
I think that's what he was talking about. If
great.
not, let me know, Jacob.
I do like this. I'm Jacob Light or Diet Jacob or Diet Jacob.
You should edit Racktulu into the background of this scene looking in the window.
But this is one of their first like real back and forths, because he's like open up the window and let a little breeze in here, and it won't stay open. It's like, oh yeah, there's like usually a stick that you can prop it open with. It's probably over there in the corner. And yeah, as soon as he takes his eyes off, he makes his move, which is understandable. It doesn't work, but it makes sense. And he had already said previously, like if you get like 2 feet closer to me, I'm going to pull both these triggers. But he doesn't. So now he's kind of shown a little bit of his character to the other guy here. He's like, oh, you said you're going to shoot me and you didn't. And I don't remember. I think it's here. He says, like, if you do that again, I'm going to pull both these triggers. Or I'm going to pull both these triggers. And he just kind of sits back up on the bed and goes,
do I?
Do I? And there's a nice long pause between those two lines there that shows he at the very least thinks he is in control. And it's kind of clear he is. And I don't know if it's because if he pulls the trigger on this guy, if he's not going to get his full pay. So I'm not really sure if it's clear that it's a moral thing or he's trying to get as much money as possible to help his family thing.
I think it's both.
I'm okay with it kind of being open and up to interpretation on that. Hang on, is that a random goat at the beginning of the cattle herd? All right.
Or a lamb or sheep or something.
That's a goat. That's a goat leading them in. Oh, wait, it might be a lamb.
I mean,
hard to see.
Have you guys not heard of herding dogs? You got to have herding goats.
I mean, there's herding llamas.
The way you did that made the cows trample to go to a lamb.
It's like, get out of the way. Blah, blah, blah.
It's like that scene in Animal House when the people trample Kevin Bacon's character. It's like,
here's my thing. Doesn't this town have a sheriff office with a jail? But he's out, right, with no deputy. So they couldn't get in. It was
that was my question. I was like, why is there no deputy? Like, do they just expect nothing to happen when the sheriff's gone?
Well, they have a marshal. This is a territory. So they have an appointed marshal who has to cover a huge area.
Well, and initially, they do know how competent this guy is and all of his gang members, and they are trying to keep this so low key. If you put somebody like that in jail, every's going to know about it. They just wanted to get him checked in.
Got it.
I mean, because like the hotel guy is in on
secret.
it. Yeah, because we know the hotel guy's in on it, because later on when Sleeping Dude wakes up and asks about anybody checking in, the hotel guy just lies to him, even though we know that he checked them in. So they've got this whole situation lined up to keep this as off the radar as possible.
They're like, that guy's been sleeping a while.
He must have had a good Saturday night.
I don't know how he's able to walk around after sleeping like that. Like, I've slept in a chair like that before that way. And the next day I had a limp because my back was just so messed up.
Look, these are cowboys who probably slept a bunch of their nights just on the ground with nothing. So that's comfortable.
With nothing. Well, yeah, compared to that, yeah.
You also
that's fine.
slept in a prison cell, so I'm sorry, a jail cell, a holding cell.
I did. And that was not comfortable. But I mean, yeah, never mind. If when you're that tired, you can sleep anywhere.
I'm so glad that you've got a good nature about that, because we absolutely will never let that go.
You shouldn't. Absolutely not.
But yeah, we get back to the back and forth, and I think this is the point where he starts doing the whole like devil whispering in the ear, like, "Hey, I'll give you money. Just think about
what's your price?" Because he goes like, what, 2,000, 7,000, 10,000,
and
yep.
To make, I've mentioned it in the pre-show, but I'm not going to go into it deeply. The interesting change between the character here and the character in the remake is that here he's just trying to get out of there. He just wants to pay him and get a leave. Whereas in the remake, he's testing his character. You can see he's testing his character by the offers he makes and the way he does it.
Well, he also offers him like, hey, you could use a business partner. I'll be a silent business partner. I'll give you money to keep your farm going.
Jacob, I'm sorry, I'm late to this. That goat at the front was a scapegoat. But
Hold on, can I do it?
Yeah, it was a scapegoat. Then it was trodden under.
Sorry, Mando. If you heard it, we didn't. But yeah, that's definitely the look of a guy who's like, well, hold on a second. I'm not going to admit that I'm hearing you out, but I'm hearing you out. And like, I agree with what you said earlier, Matt. Like his acting is filling in a lot of what the story leaves open.
Yeah.
Funeral of the stagecoach driver.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? This might seem a little bit weird to some folks to have a dog ride along on top of your cock. Man, if I go before my dog does, I want him to be there. I like that. I'm okay with that. That hits me right here.
You can go full Viking.
That's a good boy.
Everyone and everything you ever had burned with you.
Right?
Maybe not everyone. But I don't mind everything, because nobody's going to have my stuff when I'm done. Yeah, some of these wide shots at the scenery and everything. Just fantastic. I think this is where he says that point where, or that line where he's like, he drew first, so what you could argue it was self-defense. Again, as Matt said, legally, especially these days, if you're in a commission of not legal advice, but if you're in commission of a crime, you can't argue self-defense.
Yeah.
I like this little bitty thing where he doesn't want to get the bed dirty because of his boots. Yeah.
See, I didn't think he took his boots off. I thought it was just his spurs, which I thought was interesting that they let him keep on.
Right. But the spurs, yeah, but he put the rug on top of the bed.
Oh, that's what he did there. Okay, I missed that detail. I was curious what he was doing with that. No, the dog is not food for the wake. Jacob, we have gone over eating dogs during my Fallout playthroughs. Don't make me ban you from your own stream.
But yeah, like I just, this kind of goes more into the he's actually a good guy kind of thing, because like they're in a honeymoon suite and he like, tries to make small talk. Like, I wonder how many brides have, been in this room. But yeah, he puts the mat or the carpet on the bed, and then he goes to try and put his feet up there, but the spurs get in the way, so he takes off the spurs. But
I missed
he
the
was
fact
very
that he had
considerate about that.
Yeah,
not wanting to screw the bed up. See, stuff like that really makes it hard to hate the guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it for such compelling, like, bad guys is you don't have to make them like a lot of modern movies have done where they need to be sympathetic. I don't need them to be sympathetic. They just need to be like in some way charismatic. People like
Right, because
Hans Gruber for a reason. Hans Gruber is an evil, evil bad guy, but people love him.
yeah, like bad guys just need to be charismatic. They don't need to have a crying backstory.
It's like, oh, so you're still talking about that money, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shut up and let me think about it. It's like, all right. You think about
I think he
that
talks about like he points out what time it is. It's like he's got like an hour and a half or something to figure it out. Yep, there it goes.
Yep. He's got, let's see, because they're planning on leaving in like a little bit before 3 to get down to the train on time because they want to have like a nice little tight window there where there's not a lot between when they arrive when the train leaves. So he's got a few hours to think about it.
Yeah, it's only 11:08 or something. That, children, is called a watch, a pocket watch, and you learn how to tell time based on the numbers in the arms of the watch.
Some of us old folks still wear one.
I have my digital watch as a analog one.
Oh, this guy's finally just like, oh, well, that hangover is gone. What time is it?
Right?
Why did you wake me up? You didn't tell me to. That's a great line.
Right? It's like, I was expected to wake you up.
See, because even if he actually did say, wake me up whenever, I'm assuming he came in drunk, and we know that this other guy is in on it, so he's going to lie anyway, because he lies in a second when he said, hey, did anybody check in? No, nobody. Okay, that's weird. Well, since I'm awake, let me have a drink. Nothing like a little hair of the dog to get you going at 11:30 in the morning.
Right.
Been there.
Hey, Burials for breakfast.
Yeah, but he just goes outside to kind of like walk around because, I mean, this is still a possible drop-off point. Obviously, he expected the drop-off to have happened already, doesn't realize that this other guy's in on it, but he's still going to hang around because that's what they do, is they stay in place, watch everything, and wait for somebody else to say, hey, they're over here, or if they show up. And again, like you pointed out, Matt, just sitting and watching. Just observing, being the most confident man in the room.
And he knows he can get out of the prison, so I want to make sure he gets there alive.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he'd rather go right now because otherwise he wouldn't be offering $7,000, $10,000.
Right.
Oops. I don't know which button I pushed to put that up there in the corner. Never mind. Oh, a nice little, gentlemanly thing. Roll a cigarette, light it for him, and then hand it over.
Right?
Again, despite the look on that face, there's a level of bonding going on here.
But they have an understanding.
11:30 is a late start. Yeah, I think that's when he basically tells him, like, just like, shut up and let me think about it.
Right, because at this point in time, we don't know the last time this poor man has slept. Like, at least a day and a half, if not 2 days.
I mean, even assuming that they slept on the way over at some point, he wouldn't have gotten a full night's sleep because they would have to split watch during the night, but they'd still have to both ride in the morning. Oh, this guy just kind of walked around, not aimlessly, not knowing where to go. Boy, I've had dates ended like that when they didn't show up. I mean, what? It's just that, oh man, what do I do now? I don't want to leave. People think it's weird. I'll just walk over here and stand.
I love how the horse just kind of like, so.
That horse is totally spiking the camera.
Yup.
Yeah, I don't know the origin or behind like having the boy play the drum at the front. And it's not really clear enough. I think it's supposed to be a Native American getup.
It is. It's the Native American boy with
Okay.
the I forget what the drum is called.
Oh,
Funeral drum.
dude. There's a dude back there at the very back of the line with a legitimate peg leg. I did not notice that.
Yeah, that's legitimately a peg leg. That dude has no leg. It's probably like a World War II guy or something, or Korean.
Probably.
Like veteran or whatever. They were just, hey, you want to be in this? We need somebody with no leg.
It's kind of like the guy from was it Two Towers
Hey.
that had no eye.
We need someone with no leg. We can cut this guy's leg off for $10.
He doesn't need that.
See, this is where
this scene.
This is where the funeral goes from like this is definitely more of an Irish thing, or a lot of other places. Definitely not necessarily Southern America. In Southern America, after the funeral, you go have a potluck and you eat food and get fat with your friends. These folks hit the bar. You know what? I'm happy with both, and I think we should combine both traditions from here on out. Get fat and drunk at the same time.
And then the brother of the coach driver like goes over to Mr. Butterfield and is like, "It's your fault."
Yeah, and he also makes a comment that like nobody showed up, or hardly anybody showed up to the funeral because somebody says like, shame the pastor, the preacher couldn't be there. So and so said something. It was great. A shame not more people could hear it, and he doesn't know that Mr. Butterfield is here as part of the deception and guarding everything. He just thinks he's cold-hearted and didn't want to show up. It's kind of understandable because he's not going to share the secret that they've got going. It's like, oh, dost I hear a ruckus down below?
Is there a ruckus down below?
That's wild. That's a dude who just like, yep, I'm in control.
I know what's happening, and I'm fine.
And I don't know if it was a filming choice. I have to think it was, and not just a environmental choice. But this dude is perpetually sweaty and gets sweatier as the more he's like confronted with everything.
Well, they would have to put that on him because these guys are wearing like full lather level makeup.
Oh yeah, you got a good point there.
That's probably Vaseline.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, I think he gets to knock at the door. It's Mr. Butterfield. Let me in. And it sort of is. I don't want to advance this too fast so that YouTube catches it. Surprise!
Right? And it's not Mr. Butterfield, it's the cab driver's brother.
You know what else was probably great about the 1880s is there was no such thing as an illegal firearm.
Right? I wish
you
we still had
you could
those
saw
days.
anything off that you wanted to. No problem.
I mean, it was just smart to have a short barrel shotgun if you want to be sneaky. You could put it in
Now,
your pocket, basically.
I do know that they outlawed explosive bullets and stuff by this point already for war. Like, convention-wise, you weren't supposed to use explosive bullets. But if you were just like a cowboy out doing whatever, everything was good to go.
I mean, if you don't get caught, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Never mind. I mean, he is. It makes sense that he's upset,
right? Like he just buried his brother.
This is where we get that call back to the "What if they heard that?" where he fires a shot off into the wall.
I had to look it up, but the first Geneva Convention was in the 1860s.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They had already outlawed the explosive bullets at that one. It was like 1868.
Yeah, because now they got the attention of basically everybody in town. That's he's like, yep, my buddy knows I'm here. Because they just go straight to the window, not, let's hide and pretend it's just some drunk dude in the bar.
Then the actual drunk dude goes after him. Or tries to.
Well, I mean, at the very least, like, hey, this random dude just ran off real fast out of town.
We know. Well, okay. I didn't know. I hated how they were so mean to him. It's like, I'm doing what you asked me to.
Yeah, they are kind of mean.
We know.
And
That you knew?
And Shield, your fan club is glad that you're back.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Copa. I was in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
It's like, oh yeah, that guy just ran out of town.
Yeah,
like,
not the musical.
We know, go back. It's like, all right, we need. This is what we need to say. We need the sheriff. Sheriff's out of town. All right, well, we need a posse. Just round up anybody from the town, and that's when he also points out basically that he's already seen everybody in the town just leaving the streets. Nobody wants to have a part of this, and he knows they're not going to be able to get a big posse. But they got to get something.
I love how this guy, it's like, this man is who killed your brother. Are you not going to help us? No.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't know. It's like,
I've got a family to think about. And they don't.
I mean, at the very least, if I would have demanded to have my gun back. They don't give him his gun back after they take it from him. Oh yeah, see, that's what he's saying. Like everybody's leaving the streets. Nobody wants to have anything to do with this. So being confident that they can get, I think he said, like, we can get at least 5 people. Round up at least 5 people. It's like, I don't know if you're going to get 5 people.
And the people are doing, despite the fact that every single one of them has a gun, they're still clearing the street.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
that
does make a little bit of sense where a lot of people, especially on Frontier, your worry is about you and yours. Kind of goes back to the other guy who's like, I have a family to worry about. I don't necessarily want to get, granted, he also wanted to get into a fight right before that might have taken him away from his family. But yeah.
Right? Like, I don't get his thought process. Granted, there probably wasn't one. He was just drunk and mad.
Yeah, he had at least one shot of whiskey in him, and the Old West whiskey is like 3 times as powerful. Yeah, but his worried wife, because of that one line he said to his son about if. She's worried about him, chasing him down.
Yeah.
Just leave the 2 boys at home alone. They're Frontier kids. They can handle themselves.
And that was
at this point in time.
That was actually a change I liked in the sequel, how the son was recklessness caused some of the problems in the film, but had a sort of redemptive bit at the end,
And at that point in time, that kid's probably 12 to 13. Like, he's old enough to watch the farm itself.
Well, that's true. I'm just saying. I thought getting rid of the wife and having the son be like a teenager obsessed with gun violence or whatever was a change in the sequel I liked.
It does make for an interesting change. I haven't seen that version of this yet, but from what you described, yes. Excuse me. Gotta lubricate the throat. The vocal cords. Let's go specifically vocal cords. No jokes. He's just biding his time. I think this is the point where he ups the pay to 10,000. Very casually just drops the number. And yet he still gives him a smoke. But he doesn't want it. Oh, okay. A little bit of a dynamic change there between the two of them, because I think at this point he's... Oh, I hit the wrong button again. Probably taking screenshots of me too. At this point, he's like, I don't need to play this game anymore because I'm getting what I need right now. So I think that's why he refused that smoke. Because he doesn't need to be buddy-buddy anymore, really. It's either you let me go right now or you're going to get shot. I don't need to worry about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're honest, as little actual... It's going to sound like a critique, but it's not. As little actual story content happens in these scenes when it's just the two of them in the room, they're still really compelling because it's a good back and forth between them. I didn't find myself wanting to skip through it at all. When I sometimes come across movies where it's a lot of back and forth and I'm just like, this is not interesting. I get the gist of it. Let's just hurry things on. I didn't do that with this one.
Because they didn't belabor it, you know?
Yeah.
Poor guy is starting to crack under the pressure, bruh.
Well, he's broken. Hasn't had a lot of sleep. I've been there. It's rough. I mean, dude's got the look of somebody who's the guy that's about to befall everything bad in a Twilight Zone episode.
Right?
Here they are. Because he didn't agree to get into a gunfight. He agreed for an escort mission. And
right?
Now it's gotten south. Of course, he had to have thought about that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that thing to his son about if I come back or whatever.
This next part kind of personally confused me. So, like, the posse that's coming in, I counted about 7, maybe 8 people. There's 8 of them. But there are people who back out. They're like, yeah, I saw like 8 of them. There's too many. I'm going to back out. And like, wait a second. What? There's more of you. What?
Yeah, I think at least what we see on screen, it's at least 8 good guys versus 6 bad guys.
Right?
But,
they walk by.
They must have a reputation. Otherwise, like, the townspeople wouldn't have just, like, disappeared. I mean, that is a Western trope, too.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a bad one.
I mean, literally right now, if the townsfolk coordinated, they could all come out their windows and gun those guys down like 3 seconds.
Right?
I mean, yeah. Jacob mentioned Three Amigos earlier. That's what you see in Three Amigos. The whole town come together.
Right? But then these guys, you know, they take their position and then they think about it for a second, like, wait a second. There's at least 7 of them. We're no match. What? What do you mean
like,
you're no match?
Everybody else is behind me, so I'm going to back up to... Well, if you're backing up, I'm backing up further.
Well, this is a truism. Like, when you're dealing with untrained fighters, right? And like there's a bunch of them who want to beat you up or whatever. Like they're in a pack mentality, and none of them want to be the first guy that's going to get his face smashed in.
Well, I mean, I'm making jokes, but strategically, yes, you do want to back yourself into at least a mildly defensive position where you have a better angle on people who are going to be, especially if you know that they have to enter where you are. You can set up that kind of stuff like that, but you definitely get the feeling of those guys who have, apparently agreed to be part of this defense force, but they're not really happy that they're there. Not that really anybody would want
they
to be
agreed to
there.
get money to be part of the defense force, thinking, well, we'll be here, so they won't show up in town. And then when things show up in the town, they're like, whoa, we didn't sign on for actually shooting the guns.
Okay, and let me just retract. At least here, I'm counting 9, so
Same.
it does look like they're mildly outnumbered. But they have a better defensible position. All they have to do is hold it. Granted, but
Right?
they also only have until like about 3 o'clock, then they have to move to the train station, and that's when they're going to be vulnerable. So they could sit there for hours on end, but unless they get to the train, it's not going to matter. And these guys know it too, because otherwise they would burst in, and they don't. They just kind of hang out. Yeah, like this mom.
I was so confused about that little girl. She popped up another time and she just stands there.
Mom was like, "Get your butt in here right now."
What are you doing?
I mean, it's
Just
just
looking
like
at these guys.
It's like people these days when like cops corner somebody in a grocery store parking lot with guns drawn. Everybody just kind of looks at them like, "Oh, that's weird," and they walk past.
I was so confused about that little girl. I was like, what are you doing here, ma'am? Like, go hide. Go.
No, see, that makes sense to me. I don't. Everybody says like, people are so dumb because they see something bad happen today and they just point their phones at it. No, we always were dumb. We would just used to point our eyeballs at it, not our phones.
Right. I get that that's what most people do, but it just that the one random little girl that's like, what? Why did you really?
I didn't mind it because it was a brief laugh for me. Because this is not a comedic film, but it got a laugh out of me when Mom stuck her head out the door and started screaming at her.
Right, like, what are you doing out there? Come here.
Like, all right, we're here. Send them out.
I mean, they have a strategic advantage. They have cover, and they're still afraid.
Well, and like I said, it's because they can hold out there all they want, but their ultimate goal is still to get to the train, so they can't stay there.
No, I mean, if these guys came in, they'd gun them down the doorway or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, I mean, these guys know that they are not going to stay there, that they have to move eventually.
Yeah.
So
Now,
they'll just pick off who they can here and there and not worry about storming the building.
If Matt were playing defense of this town, right where they're gathered there, every townsfolk would open their windows and there'd be like 45, 50 people just like that scene in what was that Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery film, The Rock, where the Navy SEALs being shot down by like 600 Delta Force guys from the ledge or whatever.
This is when that mama from earlier and her daughter both pop out with like a lever action and a double barrel.
Yeah, the little girl has a gun, the size like a giant gun, shoots one bullet, goes fire, and kills a dude. Yeah.
And this is a weird point where he's kind of doing the negotiating on his own behalf, and then tells the guy like, "Go say something." He's like, "What am I gonna say?" He's like, "Well, make it good."
Like, I'm not about to stick my head out that window. Are you crazy?
Well, and plus he's already way in over his head from what he signed up for. And yes, Matt, what you're saying, all the townsfolk, jumping out and shooting all this, that I think is something we definitely would have gotten with later Westerns. I like that they didn't do that here because it kind of lets the tension be drawn.
Well, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying.
Oh, no, I don't think you are. Yeah.
It's just funny when they're clustered up like that. And my first brain is, if everyone in the town just opened their window up and pointed their guns, we know they have to pull the trigger.
I mean, you wouldn't even need everybody. You just need like 4 people with like buckshot.
Right?
A wagon runs up as a granny with a Gatling gun.
Yes! Granny guns!
And these guys, just stay where you are. You don't need to move. You don't need to move. Guys.
And they're like, there's more of them than there are of us, even though technically it's almost the same number, but still.
See, just
I got a family to think about. So, hey.
Don't need to get out in the open. At least not yet. And this guy's just like, nope, I am out.
They ran, I'm running too. Like, I'm telling you, all of these people about to abandon you.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who does, he basically said anybody that doesn't leave you is going to die. And they know it, so they're going to leave you. Except for this dude. The hero we didn't need with the whiskey breath.
Yep.
Right, exactly. This guy, he sticks with him. It's not even for, I mean, he's not even doing it for the money, I don't think. He's just doing it because that's the kind of person he is.
Yeah. Get a couple of the Western tropes, the guy up on the rooftop and everything.
The way he falls.
Dude,
I loved it.
Dude just goes for it.
Just leap.
And I think it is really well framed because I think let me see, I think my mouse can be visible. Yeah. I think this right here is hiding a mat on the rooftop across the way, but it's so natural looking, you barely even think about it. Because dude just does
nose
full
dives.
on, like,
well, you know,
boom.
The slope of that roof he was on was too extreme for him.
Yeah, it's a very extreme slope, a very dangerous slope.
Dude, stunt people back in the day, bruh.
I mean,
and you know he's jumping to do those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the regardless of whether or not he had a pad where he first landed, that's still a 6 to 8 foot drop onto the next thing, and then a 6 to 8 foot drop onto the ground. And they kind of cut away. So there probably was a pad down there too, but I don't care. I've seen interviews with stuntmen. The pads just keep you from dying. They don't keep you from getting hurt.
Yep. All we needed was the laugh or the yell. I forget what it's called now.
Oh, the Wilhelm scream?
Yes.
Oh, we need to retire the Wilhelm scream. Oh, this is not right. Dude gets shot right in the back.
I hate what they do to him next, though. And I think Mr. Wade also did not like what they did with him next. I don't know. That was just when we get to the scene, I'll point out where I think like he's just like,
There's the little girl again. It's like, Mom, what? Oh, fine. I'll go inside.
If this were an anime, she would pull out a sword and kill them all.
Yes.
Like, not in my town. It's like,
yeah, this guy did not deserve this.
They didn't have to go that extra mile. And this is where he's like, everyone's gone. I will give you the $200. We should go because there's no one else.
Yeah, and it's also where he says, I hear one more shot, I'm going to shoot you again. Like he's threatened many times before. If you're going to give an ultimatum, you better stand by it, because if you don't stand by the first one, they're going to challenge the second one and the third one. Like we see here, you know, he calls out, it's like, you got one more shot. He doesn't say, if you shoot one more time, he's going to shoot me, because he knows he's not. He says, you have one more shot, make it count. Like,
and he misses.
he took that challenge, that ultimatum, and basically just said, you're good, man. Just hit something.
And then they hear this, oh, yeah.
That is, I think, more impactful than actually seeing it.
Agreed. Yeah, it's one of those things like, they did it to send a message, absolutely. But until this point, everything that the gang has done could have been like argued as self-defense, like, oh, the coach driver shot us or shot at us, blah blah. Like, nah, bro, there's no excuse for that. That's just cold and unwarranted.
Yeah, now they're sending messages. And of course, you're at work just trying to get through your day, and the wife comes driving up and wants to intervene. I kid. She's actually a good character, like we said before.
Oh my gosh. Like when she walks into the hotel, she doesn't do what most like female actresses do in this time. Like I was expecting her to just go like just scream and like just blood curdling scream, but no, she's just like, holy heck, there's a man up there that is hanging,
and you
this
have
is
to
not
think,
good.
You have to think that she would have recognized him too.
Mm-hmm.
So half of, as far as she knows, nobody else has met up with him here, because at least from what I get, she's not been part of the plan. So all she knows is her husband and this other guy went here, and half of that group is dead and hanging from the rafters. So of course she's going to be worried.
Right, but she like she is absolutely like horrified, but I love how she doesn't let it paralyze her. Like, yeah, oh my gosh, this poor man, but I need to go see if my husband's okay.
Yeah, I mean, she is focused, but it's not this, like you said, it's not this panicky breakdown, anything that would be totally reasonable actually for most people, but it's an overdone movie trope in a lot of things.
Yes,
but her reaction is reasonable. It's also not the currently overdone trope of just woman powerful, quote unquote.
Right. Like, I feel like hers, with her background, she is a frontier woman. She is a frontier wife. She has seen some stuff. So I expect like her to be able to go, oh, that's horrifying, but I have something else I need to do.
I mean, but she is still not necessarily doing the smartest thing. She's running into a place where there's a dude hanging from the rafters, yelling her husband's name. I mean, but it still, again, makes sense that in a moment of panic, you would not necessarily do the quote unquote logical thing and be quiet and stay hidden in case something's going on.
Right.
That's a nice little thing here where he kind of like focuses in on that, and then she blocks it out, and then he focuses in on her.
Like, what the heck are you doing here?
well, he goes from the dread of just like, oh, that dude's down, to like, oh, now I need to protect my wife because she's here.
Well, the other thing here, was it here or is it going to be like one of the next scenes? Because I think it's the scene where she's driving into town that you hear a thunder crack.
Oh, I think it was as she was approaching, because he says something about thunder before he even knows she's here.
Right. So, like, for those of you in the audience, like, that thunder means rain. Rain means he can survive. Rain means he doesn't need the $200.
Yeah,
well,
but
that's
now he's
implied, but it's only one. You know, in Arizona, it'll rain. It could rain for an hour, and that's it. Then it's done for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's why they have to do like water catchment and everything out there.
They do have a monsoon season. I mean, I used to live in Tucson, and it'll rain really hard for a couple of days, and like it's pretty cool because it'll be just brown and dry, and then after a really heavy rain, it'll be green for like one day. Flowers will bloom off of cactuses that only bloom once a year. People will come from all over to like take pictures of it and stuff. It's really beautiful, and then it just goes back to looking dead after that.
I mean, you could say that the sound of thunder was a symbol of hope for his livelihood, at the same time that his wife showed up and kind of like gave him hope to like try to get out of that situation where maybe before he wasn't really going to try. He just wanted to make sure that the money was sent back to his family for trying to do the job or whatever. But you also kind of get this look where, at least to me, that doesn't look like a man who thinks he's 100% in control anymore. Like he's a little bit more uncertain.
Right.
She's entered the picture, and that was something I don't think anybody saw happening.
No.
Well, I think he's thinking, I wish I had that guy's life, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that I didn't have to be an outlaw, that I had a ranch and a wife and kids, you know?
Yeah, and he said something about thunder, and she just like, there was no thunder. She wasn't focused in on that. She was worried about him. Oh, hold on a second. Let me do this right here. Yuma Territorial Prison in Yuma, Arizona opened July 1st, 1876 and shut down on September 15th, 1909. Housed over 3,000 men and over 24 women for crimes ranging from murder to polygamy. Oh, that dang polygamy.
This is her like saying, hey, just come home. You don't need to do this. We don't need you dead. Please just come back. Everyone is telling him he does not need to do this.
Well,
and then he's like,
yeah, earlier
but I got it.
She said things that made it sound like he would need to do it. Like, again, we are our own worst enemy. And he was doubting himself, and it takes one line that could be completely innocent in that moment to make it seem like everybody is doubting you. And
Well, that's
so he's being confronted with the fact that maybe she wasn't feeling the way he thinks that she was feeling at that time.
That's why I said earlier, like he's acting way more than the story is telling about his character's background.
Yes,
because like in the remake, it's they tell you and show you the causes of the character's motivation, so to speak. Whereas here, maybe it's in the script somewhere, but they didn't film it or put it in the movie, so the actor is doing his best to convey that with his acting.
He's doing a really good job.
Roman, no! I did no! If I was going to live an actual life of crime, I would be much wealthier than I am right now.
Man does not live a life of crime; she lives a life of fire.
Exactly.
Hey,
yeah, exactly.
It can be both.
Arson is a thing.
See, Mando doesn't show up, but from the waist down, she's actually made of fire now.
Oh, good grief. Not exclusive. Exactly.
Now it's time for them to walk the dusty road.
Yep. Like, all right, we got to get to the train. And also,
Sure.
Roman, welcome. Jacob's been having some issues with the raccoons tonight. He's in the chat when he can be. Otherwise, you're stuck with me running the this locomotive. Will we get to Yuma? Who knows? With Mando on board, it could burst into flames and derail. Especially with that cat of yours just popping in every now and
There's that statue again.
Oh, I shut the door now, so he shouldn't come in now.
Let's just go ahead and appreciate that statue for just a little. Look, she's even looking at it. She's like, oh.
Right. She's like, wait a second. If I even wore something like that showed my knees, I'd be in trouble.
If I wore that, maybe he wouldn't have left for $200.
Right.
There's some smart maneuvering here, like avoiding obvious lines of sight, like using those like canvas coverings to kind of hide
canvas
them.
awning things or whatever.
Yeah.
Using him as a shield.
Yeah. And now they all know that they're going to the train. That's the only place they can go. It's either to the train or on the trail that they can catch them on. And like that look, like, there's a little bit of a look of admiration there. He's like, this dude's he's doing a good job with this. He's like, he could just shoot me at any point and leave, and nobody would really care.
a little bit of a writing hole here, and that this character, Evan, is supposed to be like a marksman, a best shot, a sharpshooter, whatever, but he's only using a sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah.
Like you would think he would have picked up a rifle if he was that level of shooter or whatever, you know. Like the sawed-off shotgun will be on in a holster or whatever, but
I think
I'm okay with him just being a normal dude who got roped into this. I don't need him to be some sharpshooter badass.
On the way there though, he had ample opportunity to pick up a better gun for a gunfight than a two load shotgun. You know,
I think the sawed-off shotgun it makes it easier for him to control the prisoner. Like it's not so long; it's going to get caught on stuff. Plus, it's very threatening. If you unload both barrels, that's definitely going to kill you or maim you.
Oh, that's instant death.
But that's when they're here now. Like when he's in the room, you think you want to something get aimed from the window with much more accurately. You know, that to me is a little writing inconsistent. At this point, a little bit of that he wouldn't have that gun with him at this point. For
I can't remember. I think he gave the revolver away to the stagecoach owner, but he.
I'm not saying he's a revolver. It just seems
I mean, just having something else.
Yeah. There's our Cal Mandos.
And the Cal Mandos come in. They're like, "Hey, we can use this."
I will spoil the sequel, the remake, and say the cows play a somewhat better, bigger role.
I mean, they were a very important role for this scene.
Yeah, it allows them to take a slightly different route. So everybody goes, they yell, "They're going to the train! They're going to the train!" So they rush there, not paying attention to the fact that they're running right past the guys that they're going after.
The dude they rented those cows from when they made this movie probably got paid more than all of the extras put together.
Right. There's the train.
The infamous 310. And I think at this point we're past 310, so that's why it's on the move. If not now, soon, because they're waiting for them to get on, but they don't jump on till the last little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many times here. Look at this. Look right here. He's looking away, and the other guy's looking down at the shotgun. This is obviously a moment that he would have taken the chance. This is very similar to when he was propping up the window and looking for the stick to do that. And it's almost like he's looking at that and he's just like, "No, I'm not going to do that this time." It's like, I'm just going to go along with this. Plus he's confident. He's already escaped from all sorts of places. So it doesn't really matter if he gets there. I think he's more concerned about this is a good dude. I don't want to get him killed.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, that was a perfect chance to take that gun away from him.
I agree.
Roman, was this? I saw the Russell Crowe. Roman, I think there was probably half a sentence in there that you kind of stroked out and didn't remember to type.
Roman said the remake, not the original.
Roman.
Yeah, that's the remake from 2007. Which it's okay. It's pretty decent.
Apparently it's got its highs and its lows.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is another thing. They use the horse for cover.
They don't pay me enough for this.
I mean, that's one of those things too, where even if you saw it, even with the long guns, you're not carrying much more than your 6 shots in a revolver. So you're not going to want to waste a bunch of shots trying to down a horse if you're going to try to take somebody out. And you don't want to hit your boss if you don't have a clear shot.
Sure, Roman, sure.
Well, the night's still young, Roman.
The stroke is
God,
having
I'm going to feel
Roman.
bad if it happens. But yeah, he's basically like, "All right, we're gonna jump onto the train here. Just do what I say." And this is great with the steam and everything. That's a great shot right there. Man, I could frame that. That's just a good like poster image.
And like his guys are telling him, "Bend down, like we'll shoot him, like we'll get you out of here."
Yep.
And then
Which,
he's
I
like,
he's got a shotgun pointed at his kidney. I don't care how fast you are. That's a risky move. But I think he decides to go ahead and jump in because out of a little bit of respect.
I think so too. I think at this point he's like, I don't want this dude to die. He's seen his kids, he's seen his wife, he's seen his farm. Like,
Plus,
Yeah,
as long as there's no gun violence, he knows he can escape.
Yeah, and this is where he says, like, just jump into the boxcar coming out. How do I know I can trust you? He's like, you just gotta. And they see, I better get that. And
I
he's
will
got to
say-
go because he has to trust him, because if he doesn't jump in, he is uncovered and at the will of all those other dudes pointing guns at him. I like that, like, little steam burst kind of cover things up. Nice little dramatic bit.
right?
Now,
Yeah, when you release steam from a locomotive like that, though, you don't want to be standing near it because
Oh,
it can
no.
scald you.
Yes.
Especially what they'll do is they'll find a place that's kind of secluded and doesn't have a lot of stuff around it, and because they have to blow out the bottom of the steam pan to get, because it's because of mineral buildup and stuff, so they have to blow it out. There's a handle that you can pull, and yeah, you don't want to be anywhere near that because it goes like 40-50 feet out, and it's
Roman,
scalding steam.
if you're talking about the gang, it's Richard Jackal who played the sergeant in the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, I don't know exactly at what point he said that. I was busy looking at my other screen. Yeah,
Well, I think
it's like,
Roman's recognizing him the same way I am. That dude is in so many movies, and oh my god.
that smug look. I should have just skipped ahead. I should have known that it was going to focus in on that. He's like, see, told you, I'm here.
And you're gonna get your $200.
Yep. And I'm going to get out of prison later on. Maybe not tomorrow, but I will.
Hey, Gadfly, how you doing?
Good evening and welcome to wrapping this up. We're just about to the end of the movie. Luckily, there's
Yep,
the replay you can always go back to.
Now for
I
those of you
love. Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say that I like this last little scene.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't seen the remake, I won't spoil it, but a very interesting contrast to that train scene, boarding the train scene, with the choices they made in the film to get there and whatnot. So
Oh, come on. Yep. And his wife watching him go.
And then as soon as they're waving past each other, crack of thunder, water.
she used her Jedi powers to make it rain.
I did. She did.
Yep.
May the
that's
force
right.
be with you.
She's
And
like,
there's the rain. So he's got his money and his rain. All is well. Even drink some off the roof of the train, which I can't say I would say is a good idea.
Probably not much dirtier than what they drink at home.
Yeah, good
right?
point. But I mean, this is again with some of these old movies, they definitely don't overstay their welcome. They hit the ending and they go, "Well, that's the end."
Ta-ta,
Literally,
folks.
The end. Yeah.
So
This was a fun movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a good movie. So
Yeah.
just to briefly mention what I talked about behind the scene, So at the end of this, it's raining, right? So he did the right thing. He adhered to his true faith, reward from heaven, right? Type of thing. And the reason I had mentioned Odin, if I don't know if the writers of the remake had that in mind, the way Wade acted in that film, which is entirely different than, in a lot of ways, than he did in this. And I don't want to say there was a reward or a penalty. There was, but like like the whole concept of there being a reward at the end of some sort for the faithfulness of the hero on his journey is it's portrayed a bit differently in the remake. It's good in both versions of it. But I just thought they enhanced the storyline with that aspect of the character. And that's why I thought I don't know. I'm just guessing based on how they whoever wrote it, the remake, the way the character did, had read enough Norse mythology to get Odin the Wanderer as a character when he did it.
Yeah, that falls outside of my realm of knowledge. So I'm going to trust you on that one. That those connections are there. Oh my God, Roman! No, Roman is definitely having a stroke.
Well, it's one of those things like when you read you read enough stuff, you know what I mean? Like eventually you start to notice things. You wonder if the person, like when you read one thing and you read something else or watch something, were they influenced by that because you could see something of that there, you know?
Yeah,
And was it conscious, like they were deliberately drawing on it, or was it just because maybe they were so into Norse mythology as a kid, it just drove it, structured their thoughts on, like, and not just Norse, anything like that. Like, if you read, I don't know, it all goes back to Naruto, right? When you read the Naruto manga, Kishimoto consciously put things in there from Japanese folklore, from Shinto, from Buddhism, and so forth. But also subconsciously, you can see some of his clear influences in there as well. So the question: how much was purposeful? Versus how much was just how much was he like? Or George Lucas get to go to not Naruto, but George Lucas. When you look at how he structured Star Wars, I mean, you could see elements of Eastern mysticism, the samurai, things like that, yin and
yeah.
yang.
What he did was a lot definitely more intentional, but also a lot of people, those kind of themes just weave their way into their works because they've read them before or have come across them before, and it may not necessarily be an intentional thing, but a lot of those just work with good epic stories. I mean, not
Yeah.
even necessarily epic as in scale, just like a hero's kind of story.
Well, that was Joseph Campbell on the Power of Myth, which is the TV version of it. He wrote all those books. Like how much of what when we tell stories now is conscious choice when we tell those stories versus just accumulated stories and whatever when we were told them, like if one of us wrote something, how much that we influenced by the fact that we were told the story of King Arthur when we were a kid, just because it's rolling around our neurological structure, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that it's just that's an interesting thing. You just notice stuff when you see how things are built and you look at other stuff you read. That's one point I'm making.
Yeah. Shieldwall, I feel like we've talked a whole lot. And you have any final thoughts on this? Any comments on the movie as a whole?
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like I said, this movie I think builds. Seeing this movie, this builds expectations of what every other Western that came after is supposed to be like, as far as quality of shooting, quality of acting, story, those kinds of things. It's a easy story to follow. It's not that complicated, but it's well written, well acted. It doesn't have any unnecessary stuff like the 2007 remake does, where it has a lot of things that could probably be cut.
Yep.
This doesn't have any of that. You really can't cut much from this.
No.
It's not too long. In fact, it could have maybe had a little bit added to it but it didn't need it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. The cinematography is outstanding. The locations they picked are absolutely amazing. And all the acting was pretty well done for the most part. Yeah, I think it was a good movie. And it had some interesting themes and through plots, like Alex the Town Drunk actually being
Funny enough,
braver than all the other people except for the main protagonist.
Alex the Town Drunk in the remake is a doctor.
Okay, it's been
Like
a while since I saw the remake.
They make him. I don't even know if he drinks or not, but they take him from being the town drunk to being a doctor. It's funny how they make the changes,
I mean, you can still technically be both, but I like him being kind of a nobody.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he's very keen to help, and it doesn't really dive into why. It's just part of his character. And so I think it's a good movie. It's good watching this.
Cool. Well, I'm doing this a little bit differently than Jacob does, but before I move on to anybody else with any final thoughts, Shieldwall, do you want to plug anything you got coming up? I think we're gonna kind of tag team both those bits here as we go around.
Thursday, I'm going to be on Roman of the Empire's channel. We're going to be doing Wolven. It's like a movie about not werewolves, but like sentient wolves. So
sort of
from the 80s. Yeah, kind of. It's pretty cool. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I saw it around the same time as I saw Chud when that first came out in the 80s on like VHS or something. So I think I was over to a friend's house. We watched Wolven, we watched Chud, and then we watched something else. I can't remember what it was, but it was something along those lines of like a kind of horror 80s thing that he had. And they were all on the same like big VHS tape. That would run for like 4 or 5 hours or however. I think there were 6-hour tapes you could get.
Yeah.
Well, you had a button.
It depended if you recorded on SP or SLP.
Yeah, no, there's 3 things, like 2 hour, 4 hour, and like so long the tape wears out in like 1 hour. It was really a long one. Like because it had the 3 movies on it. Was it American Werewolf in London? It was something like that. Yeah. But for you young folk out there, Chud is a horror classic from the 80s. Stands for cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
Right. Yeah.
Of course.
They're basically all like little Quatos from from Total Recall. Yeah. But anyway, that's what I got. And then I have to look at the schedule for next week for Tuesday on Jacob
just said he's
Jacob mentioned at least there will be no show next week. So I guess unless something happens with his internet, we'll probably be skipping
Sorry,
week.
I didn't see that. You just put that up there. All right.
No,
cool.
That was kind of a last minute thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
All right. Well, then I guess that'll be it till next time. So, but it was great having me on here. You did a great job, Beard. Everybody did a great job, and
thank you. I'm only as good as the people who help me out.
I'm always grateful that Jacob invites me on these and lets me, have the experience of doing this. So it's great.
Yeah. Cool.
Same Chud time, same Chud channel.
All right, Matt, any final thoughts on the movie and then where people can find you?
I rate it at 7.5, 8 out of 10. Very entertaining. I like the fact that it's like just there. Like you don't have to you don't feel you have to stop it halfway through because they put 17 extra minutes of scenery in there that you don't want to watch or whatever. So I enjoyed the pacing of it. I just enjoyed it. It's a good movie to watch, And so 7.5, 8 out of 10. That's a fair rating. There's some plot holes and whatever. As to where I'll be or whatever, for Wolfen tomorrow on Roman's channel. Not tomorrow, Thursday. Also tomorrow I'll be on Wednesday at Overbooked with Joker Voice talking about the world of professional wrestling. On Friday I have my stream, Friday Fandemonium, which when Jacob's internet is not being assaulted by the raccoon brigades. Hopefully he'll defeat the R800 by then. He's usually co-guest hosting on my channel. It's 5 p.m. on Fridays. I am prepping to record I want to say 5 videos over the next 2 days. So, with any luck, I'll have some non-live content on my channel by the weekend. And so Jacob's nothing with Jacob next week. Roman show, and I think that's it.
Cool. Awesome. And Mando, final thoughts and where people can find you.
I'd say 8 to 8.5 out of 10. Really enjoyed it. I just have a soft spot for old westerns. Right now, my internet is not quite as bad as Jacob, but I cannot stream with it right now because I tried to do a stream yesterday and it was just really bad. So until I can get that sorted out, I'm just going to be appearing on other people's streams, and I might try and do some pre-recorded stuff for my YouTube channel. We shall see what happens. Because right now it's just all up in the air. But I'll definitely be there Thursday for Wolfen.
Mando can be found wherever there is fire. Search for the fire, and you will find Mando.
just look for.
Listen
smoke.
for the fire trucks.
Yeah, don't be an ambulance chaser. Follow the fire engines. That's how you find Mando. That's the ultimate answer for where in the world is Untamed Mando. It's where the fire
I'd
is.
still have shirts and stuff at my merch store if anybody wants
It's
them.
just every book you open and a big fire shoots out of it, and then Mando pops out.
Hi
guys.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks to everybody who is here, all three of you, everybody in the chat. Thanks for being patient with me going through this. It was kind of a last minute thing where Jacob said he might need some help. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't think I worked it up too badly. We'll see. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I kind of want to see the remake to compare the two now. After hearing what you guys have had to say about it, but just this one as is, it's not paced too quickly or too slowly. It only shows you and tells you what you need for the story. It respects you as a viewer, and like Matt, as you said, that the actor I forget the character's name is acting his ass off. Sorry, Jacob, and is filling in a lot of the gaps that the story is leaving there. It's definitely worth a watch for anybody who hasn't seen it. You don't even have to really be a big fan of old westerns to enjoy it, I think. But other than that, to make it simple, Monday nights on After the Weekend, Tuesday nights here, except for next week, unless Jacob gets miracle internet and something changes. I'm sure he'll let you know. Thursday nights, Roman of the Empire, and Sunday afternoons with Stark of Iron. If you want to get specific times or links to that, I've simplified things with a Linktree/Beard of Liberty. Everything's there. Other than that, thank you to everybody in the chat. Roman, obviously Jacob, who was giving us some great facts in the chat. Copo Boosh. I'm sure I've missed a couple people in there, but thank you all so much. And I'm just kind of rambling as I remember I have to get to the exit animation. We will see y'all when we see y'all. Not next week, potentially, but keep an eye out. Later.